Hi there, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Mainstream. I'm here, Shulagh Jacobs with Erkan Ali, and we've just decided to jump on another call and talk about some things that we had in our head. Uh, I'm calling it paradoxical personality because we were having this conversation about some of the opposites that we see in ourselves with regard to things like strength, resilience, but on the other hand, feeling kind of quite fragile as well. And certainly, I've experienced that there's a real dichotomy within ourselves where we become really adaptable and resilient to some things. But in the end, it does seem to take its toll. So we wanted to dive into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So I think what we want to do in the next few shows is appeal to people that are more kind of starting to look at information outside of the mainstream. The beyond mainstreamers are probably quite adept at it. They've been doing it a while. They'll have a lot of the information, and I'm sure many of you have gone through the swings of hope and possibility and what could be, to outright despair and the onslaught of tyranny and fascism. I know for myself, I've been through that, up and down. And also, I know there's many of my friends and people I know who haven't really crossed over into non-mainstream. That just can't be with the information. They're at a point where I just can't even look at it. I don't want to even look at it. I don't know how you do it, Erkan. You must be depressed all the time. And how do you square that circle? So I've got nothing to kind of share as in like a guru type statements, but I've just got what I can, what works and doesn't work. Like, what it is to be a human being. Some things work sometimes and other times they don't work. So first of all, I think where I stand is I think it's really important. I think it's a moral duty and responsibility to understand the reality of the world you're in and getting as close to that reality as you can. What might some people call the truth. I don't like words like what I believe in, because to me, I don't really believe in terms of factual things. I don't really believe in anything. I mean, if Shulagh and I were stuck at the top of a mountain and a blizzard came in and our lives were in danger, I'd believe to the best of my abilities we can get down alive. I believe in something like that. However, you probably have to deal with the facts of the matter, i.e. the temperature, the wind speeds, light, how much light you've got left, if you've got enough fuel, do you have enough calories in your food supply. Those are the facts you've got to deal with, the reality. And if we take that metaphor just a bit further, maybe I'd be stressed and upset and angry and confused, and Shulagh would be like, now look, Erkan, we've got 8,000 calories, we've got 20 hours to get down off this mountain, the wind speed is 45 miles an hour, the temperature is blah, blah, blah. If we do this, and, there's the difference between the emotional charge of it, and there's a difference between the calm introspection and if you like, solution to the problem, and then there's belief. I think it's a separate thing. So being on the top of the mountain, refusing to accept that it's 45 mile an hour wind speed and the temperature is what it is and how much calories we've got left and all that, refusing to deal with the facts, I think it's going to put you in more peril than not understanding the predicament, because understanding and diagnosing the situation is really paramount with regards to what you're going to do to get yourself out of that, or what are your actions going forward. Had you diagnose and assess the situation, then how are you going to project or plan or strategize your way forward, whatever that may be, regarding your health, your personal situation, your finances, whether you move country, what you're going to do next. So and then managing your emotional roller coaster during that situation. So I just wondered, does that metaphor kind of work for you? Would you describe it like that, or would you describe it a different way, Shulagh?
Yeah, I think it's a really good analogy, because I think what you referred to was that element of self-belief in that, whatever happens, I'll survive, I'll be okay. And, I think it's good to have that attitude, but you also need to take into account a certain amount of reality as well. And I think a combination of the two can see you at least a part of the way through.
Actually, can I jump in there? Because
yeah,
I think that reality, how close can you get to the reality, is what we're kind of trying to unfold here, isn't it? I mean, that's what we're saying. It's like, how do you get to that reality? And then how do you deal with that psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, morally? You know, how do you keep, not morally, morality, you know, your morale, not your morality. Well, and probably your morality as well.
An aspect of morality
the chips are down. Yeah, the chips are down. Morality seems to be one thing that could take a back seat when you've got to do what you've got to do in life. So last show we did talk about we suggested some credible channels and people that are sharing information, and then there's what do you do with that information. Now, what I find a lot of, I would call, and again, I don't mean this disrespect, people who are listening to mainstream or the normies, is they will question and challenge the information that I would share, but then do no research on that information, and they don't challenge the information that the mainstream are giving them. So it's almost like, well, I'm not going to believe you because what you're saying is low, and then they just go along with the mainstream narrative, will lead them to certain conclusions that the mainstream narrative are funneling them towards. You know, and that, so for example, what I see coming is well, have been for quite a while, is this idea of a vaccine agenda and all the ramifications of that. So any news or any reporting that's done in the mainstream is always funneling towards the answer is, the solution is, the problem will be solved by a vaccine. And you hear it, it's propagandized, marketing driven messaging with the highest order of psychological manipulation to get people to acquiesce to a vaccine. And they don't even know why they should be taking a vaccine, but they know that's the thing to do next. And isn't that what great marketing is they've given you a problem you didn't know you had, and they give you the solution to it, and here it is, what you've got to do is buy this or do that, and you get the girl, you climb the mountain, you go on the holiday, jab and go. It just, those are very classically driven marketing decision, getting people to make those decisions. It's a funnel. So I think if you're going to have the courage to step out of the mainstream and start working, get out of the funnel, then you're going to have to, because I think there's another thing with the marketing funnel, it gives you relief in the answer. Like if you do this and do that, then there's relief. So don't worry, we've got it covered. The vaccine's coming, and you'll have a freedom pass. The most draconian document that's probably been issued in the last 50 years is a vaccine document that's going to track your medical record, and they're calling it a freedom pass. I mean, it's an inversion. But obviously, if you're inside the mainstream narrative and you're inside the suggestive and the precognitive and the pre-programming of that environment, it's going to take some level of discipline or ability to stop, because a lot of the information that's presented within mainstream is a very controlled, very small narrative. So getting out of that narrative will make you look at the problem or the challenge from very different angles and with different advantage, with different information. When you get a bit of height up the mountain, you can see things you can't see when you're lower down. It's just the nature of it. So and then dealing with I suppose cognitive dissonance is something that comes up quite a lot, is the disbelief of the information. So when we're presented with information that goes contrary to everything we've been taught or we understand the way of the world, it's very unsettling. It's very disturbing. I had a friend call me a CUNT this morning, not in a horrible way, but because I'd shared a video, an interview with Professor Dolores Cahill, and in it there's some very, very disturbing information. So, and that information can and is stuff of nightmares, and I get that. And I think the more you engage with the reality of this situation, the more resilient you become to it. Whereas if it's like anything, if you exercise every day, it gets easier. If you drink alcohol every day, it gets easier. There's just a certain conditioning of oneself. So yes, at the beginning, the information will be upsetting, it'll be disturbing, it'll be confusing, it will challenge everything you know to be the case. it may put you at odds with your family members. And I'm going on a bit of a monologue here, so I'll shut up in a sec, Shulagh. But I've had friends phone me and say, look, my partner won't look at any of this information. You know, my wife or my girlfriend or my whatever, or my husband or whatever. And it's putting families at odds with each other. You know, I know I've had those sort of challenges in my own relationship where I see things a certain way. My wife doesn't see it, or she may, but might not want to confront it. So that bar, you know, that ability, that, if you like, the ability to handle the information, like anything, the more you've researched, the more you've looked, the more you are, I think, in a better position to handle it. But however, it will get through to you at some point, make you be scared and maybe upset. And I think what's been really important for me is having people around me that I can connect with and talk to, and just to share that concern or that information, or just to be not just going through it on your own. So if you're there going, when I first started my real major researching would have been around 2003. I really got going. I'd always looked out of the mainstream anyway, but I'd say 2003 I started asking some very, very straight questions, and those questions were why there's poverty, why there's disease, why there wars, why is there debt. And I went on a 9-month, probably 12-month intensive bender trying to work out these answers. And what I worked out was it's by design, because we've got enough resources on the planet. We don't need to be killing each other. Money's created out of nothing. And disease, again, a lot of disease is very easily eradicated. You don't even need medicines. Just healthy eating, clean water, reducing the stress in the environment, peaceful, happy lives, and people live longer, funnily enough. Anyway, so I've gone on a bit. I don't know if there's anything you want to pick up on or I just wanted to get that out. I think it's really, really pertinent to the subject.
Yeah, so what I would say is that you cannot underestimate the level of psychology that is behind all of this. And they're going to make it easier and easier for you to take those courses of action that they want you to take. And you see it already in that, they're offering rewards for good behaviour. You go on their research programs and trials, you get financial incentives and incentives for testing and freedom passes for having vaccines, etc., and that's only going to increase. So the kind of resilience you need to be a non-conformist in that situation is going to increase as well. And I think this is where human beings can be incredibly adaptable and versatile, but we're really going to need to flex those muscles and extend that resilience even further.
I think resilience, I think the bedrock for resilience, starting off with, it's a choice. You've got to choose it. But then I think a real bedrock, a real foundation for resilience is understanding and information. So from the beginning of this pandemic, coronavirus plague, I've never, not once, thought that my life was in danger or that of my family because of this thing. Because from the beginning, I understood what it was and what it wasn't. And if I did get it, what would I have to do? Or if my family members got it, what would you do? And I think it's a bit like, I remember I used to, a bit afraid of thunder, thunder. And I don't know where it was at school. A teacher said, well, when lightning strikes, count the seconds, and how far away the lightning is. So you see the flash, you count 3 seconds. Oh, it's 3 miles away, right? And when I got that knowledge, unless it's right over you, and then there is a time to be afraid, by the way. But once I got that knowledge, and I've been in some thunderstorms, and I go, I see the lightning flash, I go 1, 2, okay, it's 2 miles away, 1 mile away, right? And when it's, when it's instantaneous, then there's a time to be afraid, and that's the appropriate response. So I think with regarding fear, I'm talking about what you could call inauthentic fear as opposed to authentic fear. So authentic fear could be, that the lightning is above you, and you should be a bit scared because it's right above you. You've got a risk of being hit by the lightning, but it's 3 miles away. There really isn't a reason to be afraid other than reacting. You can be scared. There's an instant reaction, but you don't have to be afraid. So I think the same with whether it's the virus, whether it's understanding the vaccines, understanding social distancing or masks. Once you get a bedrock of principles, basic principles of the situation, the fear kind of, for me, dissipates, because then you realise that there's a lot you don't have to be afraid of, and the fear agenda in the mainstream is incredible. It's on full dial at the moment, full fear propagandized programming. They call it programming for a reason. So if you're taking that on as a regular, you're ingesting that content, then guess what? You're going to be funneled into certain actions, and you may find yourself waiting for a vaccine, or wearing a mask, or worried about people coming too close to you, or going, they should have locked down a lot earlier. And you just find, what I find is people just repeating what the mainstream narrative is without even, if you give it a litmus test of logic, you go, when in history have we quarantined healthy people? Never. So how are you going to stop and ask why you're being quarantined or put under house arrest, and your business being bankrupted, and your staff not getting paid, and there's furloughs, but that's not going to last long. But but people don't apply. They have a flawed logic in these things, and it's I'd say it's installed in them like a little program, and then they just adopt that thinking. And I think that's where the fear comes from.
I think people are very ready to adapt and become tolerant of the wrong things as well. If you look at how quickly people have become conditioned to the idea of lockdowns, the orders given, we all scurry back into our houses and, start baking and making and doing all kinds of sort of homely stuff. Whereas, really maybe what we should be doing is actually testing our resilience in a relatively safe location.
Yeah, and I think that resilience is key. So I think the bedrock of resilience is a firm understanding of the reality. And like I say, I still think the most important step is making that choice. If you want to make the choice to be resilient, then the understanding of the situation, and then assessing the situation and diagnosing where it's at and where it isn't, and then what you're going to do. And I think action overcomes fear. We've heard it many times. And I think when you get into action, it puts something out into the ether. It puts something out into the global consciousness that you now are in action. This was the thing about if a butterfly flaps its wings in Hawaii, it causes a whatever. Who knows at what level we are affecting and influencing the global cosmic consciousness. I mean, I don't know. It's not really my area, but I've got to imagine if you're doing something productive and you've got your mindset in a position where you're dealing with reality head on, and you're in action doing something the outcome is positive, the ripples are incredible. I mean, even if we connect with 3 people off the back of this, and then they somehow, I don't think we realize how much of a difference we make, and you can't always measure it, so you don't know for sure. But I know I get feedback where people say to me, do you know what, that really made a difference. Or then my friend, now I shared that video that you gave me, I gave it to a friend of mine. Now he's starting to see what's going on. So it's like one, in your environment, in your area, maybe you send out some information, 10,000 or 30,000, or 1 million people could see it. Even better, more leverage, but still be true to yourself and do what you feel has integrity. I think that's really important. And what I've found, a lot of people that are probably in the mainstream is they're consuming this information and they're just paralyzed. I'm just going to ignore it all. I'm like, really? Do you think that's a great strategy?
Let's see how that works for you.
Okay. If I said to you, you're becoming diabetic, you're just going to ignore it. We do have I think maybe it's a survival mechanism. The head in the sand thing. I mean, we've all done it. I mean, me included. I'm sure you as well. But it comes a point where you've got to go, right, that's enough of head in the sand. Pull it out, or head up your ass, whatever. And then, okay, brush yourself off and think, right, what am I going to Where's my stand? What's my stand here? You know, and it's a journey. It's a marathon. And like every marathon, you have your ups and your lows, and your ups and then times when you want to give up. And the other thing I wanted to say is what I'm doing now. If I'm encountering people that are just basically what I would call time wasting, they're not really committed to anything out of the conversation, or they're just ridiculing, just cut them out. I mean, it sounds really harsh, but it's like it's a drain on your energy. Work with the willing. There's enough people out there that have no idea what's going on that could do with some help. And if you reduce your audience from 100 to 20, and 20 people are interested, just get rid of the 80%. It's not worth your time. I don't think it's those kind of numbers. It's probably the other way around. But you know, that's what I've also noticed. There are energy vampires out there that are just you know, they don't know, and they're not committed to anything. Or they're not committed to finding out what you want to share. So just, you know, why let that get in the way? You know, and I know there's a
I think they're more narcissistic and attention seeking.
I don't know what it
than
is.
anything
I think
else.
it's just piss taking arseholes sometimes. I don't know what it is, Shulagh. I just think to myself, you know, I have these people that just engage with me just to take, and I'm like, why are you bothering? What is it that you keep doing this? I don't go on anybody's page and go and have a go at them for thinking what they think. I don't, because it just it ain't worth my time or effort.
Same here.
You know, but they seem to think that I don't know what they're tuning like get back into line, put your face mask on. You know, I've had friends say to me, oh, you're very nonchalant about wearing face masks, but if I could save one older person, you know, another 3 months or 6 months of their life, I feel I'm doing the right thing. I said, well, you have no idea what's happening in reality then, that you think that. And you've been programmed to think that, my friend. And that's my stand on it. So, you know, if you're going to keep asking me why I'm doing what I'm doing and you don't look at the information I send you, there's going to be a point where, okay, you know, there's no point in me sending you anything. You're not moving forward. You're not in the seminar. You know, either people are in the seminar or they're not. And if they choose to be in it, great, engage with it. If they don't, do you know what? Just let them work it out. You can't force someone to take your seminar. I mean, unless you're the government and the national media and the medical industry, big pharma, and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, do your independent research. I mean, that's my mantra in it at the moment. Do research. Yeah, that's the answer. You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's no other, you can't get away from it at the end of the day to actually take the steps towards knowing. And I think you have to be okay with not having all the answers as well. There's a level of discomfort which goes with that. But again, living with that discomfort is part of that building resilience, to my mind, whether it's in terms of, you know, emotional discomfort or physical discomfort, which, you know, anyone who's had a background in, you know, fitness and exercise knows all about comfort zones and that kind of thing, and being able to live in a place where you don't want everything to be easy all of the time, and you're prepared to reach out into those areas where, you know, things don't always feel good, or the benefits aren't immediately obvious. I think it's very valuable. Yeah,
I think the system or the mass media system has done a good job of getting us unwittingly to turn off our brains and just receive what's being transmitted. That's why they call it entertainment. You know, they enter, and entertainment is to hold in place. You know, and if you don't know that's happening to you, then then you're a victim to it. You're at the effect of it, as opposed to understanding what is being done to you. So I think I think at the end of last year we said, you know, keep your wits about you, pay attention, you know, be on guard, because things are going to ramp up. So managing that resilience and managing your own psychology is really key, and having people around you is key. Having good information is key, and then taking action. Otherwise, it's all academic. It's all kind of navel gazing, watching stuff rather than actually getting involved. You know, and whatever you do as an expression of making a difference, just keep doing it. You get better at it. When you first start, it's crap. Always is, everything you do, and you can only get better as you do more and more. You understand it better. You look at it. You know, whatever it is, writing, creating content, whatever you're, or having conversations with people around you. And that's the other thing. When you start to talk to people about this sort of stuff, they're going to want to try and push you down a road of having all the answers to everything. And you've got to say to them, no, I haven't got all the answers. I'm asking some questions, and these are some of the answers I'm getting. And I think we need to pay attention to these things, you know, and then ask them the questions. Well, how do you see this working out? What do you think the end game is here? What do you think the SARS-CoV-2 is? What do you think PCR testing is? What are the risks of wearing a mask? You know, what do you think the risks are? Have you done any work on the risks of wearing a mask? No, none at all. Okay. So would you look at some things that I'm looking at that are making me question why I'm being asked to wear a mask? And you know, they either will or they won't, or they'll snigger or sneer or go, that's really great. Yeah, I'll have a look at that. Then great. You know, and I think that's the thing. That's where I want to get to, where I can get people to look at information for themselves because they choose to, and they make their own mind up. I mean, I think we both would be very upset if people went, Shulagh said and Erkan said it's this, this, and this. No, what do you say it is? What do you think the situation is? You know, none of us have got all the answers. I think we've said this in previous shows. We've all got a piece of the puzzle, a piece of it, maybe a couple of pieces, but you know, by no means it's the truth or the reality. There's many ways to filter what is or isn't reality, and you've got to work that out. What your reality is and how you see it. And we haven't said this for a while in any of the shows, but you know, keep the right to change your mind and be wrong. You know, if you're wrong and you go down a dead end and go, oh yeah, no, that's what was I thinking? Great. You know what? You just worked out what it wasn't. You know. I mean, in any great scientific endeavor, they're wrong, then bang, they've worked out whatever it is. You know, the light bulb, boom, is a classic one, right? Wrong, bang. You have to be right once. And then the ability to change your mind, I think it's a fantastic skill to be able to say, you know, yeah, I've changed my mind about that. And people go, well, you just changed your mind. Yeah, I did. I thought it was like that, and now I see it like that. It's called progress.
Yeah, I think it's also good to be able to filter out a lot of the irrelevant stuff as well. There's so much noise and
yeah, I mean, there's loads of disinformation. There's loads of double agents. There's loads. It's a tricky world we live in. I think the innocence that there's good information and bad information is long gone. It's a lot more sophisticated and it's a lot more layered. And I think the access to that information is, some information is very hard to get to, but you know, majority is a glut. There's an overwhelm of information. Where do you start? Who do you speak to? Who do you listen? I think that's the thing, we're trying to level that, flatten that, that learning curve for people, by making some suggestions of what to look at, what to watch, who to listen, who to consider. Listen to kind of, I don't want to sort of like, you should listen to blah blah because they're telling the truth. No, consider what they're saying and be responsible for what you consider to be the case, on your own terms and your sovereign right. And I think when you're doing that, I think the stress levels dissipate somewhat. Yeah, but I don't think they're going to go away. I don't think you can get through this, this current global situation without feeling it, because it is very confronting. So that's par for the course. You can't outrun what it is to be alive. Well, you can, I suppose, but that's, some people might take that option. If you don't want to put up with this anymore, there's one way out. But majority, if you're healthy and you're in good shape and you want to know what's going on in the world, consider the information and be responsible for how you interpret that information.
And you can choose the level. You can choose the level you engage at as well. You don't have to go from zero to hero in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And we're coming up to our half hour, but I'm gonna say one more thing, and this is gonna be kind of been the way I've viewed things my whole life, but it's become even more true for me, is enjoy every day as much as you can. I think that dissipates, do something that is fun, fulfilling, whether it's going for a walk, cooking a nice meal, having a laugh, watch something that makes you laugh. Because we I think ongoing information or fear is going to cause damage. So you owe it to yourself to indulge and be, I think it's a critical part of this. This last week now, 8 days, I've been exercising, eating clean. I've been off alcohol. I've been watching a bit of Grand Tour, which makes me laugh, and I enjoy it. Find the things that make you laugh, and make sure that you do something that's fundamentally nurturing, whatever that might be. I don't mean get drunk and eat chocolates and watch Netflix. I've done enough of that as well, by the way.
Can do that sometimes.
Yeah, but if it's like if you're the fourth one in and you go, let's watch another one, maybe it's time to back off. I've done that as well, so not like we're any better than anyone else. That's what I promise you. I'm not anyway. Anything else you'd like to say to sum up, Shulagh?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go along with that. Do things that feed your soul in some way. For me, there's obviously the dancing. I love my ballet bar in the same way a lot of people like, yoga or whatever. That centres me and gets me in a good place. And it's a lovely day today. It's nice and bright, really blue sky. So I'm going to get myself out for a walk later as well.
Yeah, I hear it's cold in the UK.
It is. It's freezing. There was a real frost this morning. But
yeah, it was 18 today. Yesterday, sorry, it was 18 and the sun was out and I had the windows open as I was driving along and I thought...
Stop bragging.
I was like, can I enjoy this? Yeah, I'm going to enjoy this. Why not? I felt a bit guilty at first. I should be suffering. I should be having a hard time. But I wasn't.
If you don't take those moments when you can, then what is it all about?
What is it about? Exactly. So listen, if you're watching the Beyond Mainstream show, folks, and it's giving, you're getting value from it, please share and subscribe to the channel. Feedback, any information to myself or Shulagh. We will. I don't know what links we're going to share at the bottom of this one, but there may be some links. But I want to thank you for watching the show and checking in with us. So hopefully this is of value to you. So thanks very much for watching.
Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Okay.